So there's a fairly common mistake that you can make when moving from English to German. It's part of a class of mistakes that I've talked about before. The temptation as a language learner is to assume that the way you would phrase something in your native language can be translated word for word into your target language, and it'll mean the same thing. Sometimes this works by coincidence, but often it does not work, and sometimes you can get yourself into a kind of embarrassing situation by saying something that you did not intend to say. Here's one example of this. I haven't seen this super often, but I did see it just recently, and when I thought about it, I think I've seen this maybe 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years, just in various language learning forums, people saying this incorrectly. So I wouldn't say it's super common, but it is kind of common. The temptation is to say, if you're describing temperature, or just in general how you're feeling or something that you're experiencing, you can use a conjugation of the verb to be. So for example, I am hot. It's hot out today. It's very sunny. Or I am cold. It's cold out today. Or I'm sick. Or I'm dizzy. Or I'm bored. You can use an adjective, and you can use it with the construct I am, or he, she, or it is. These people are boring. That girl is dizzy. This guy is sick. Now you can translate this literally word for word into German, but we get into trouble here very quickly. If you say Ich bin heiß, that is a literal word for word translation of I am hot. So you think that should mean the same in German as it does in English. Similarly, Ich bin kalt is literally word for word I am cold. So, okay. Does that not mean what I think it means? No, it does not at all. Here's the problem. In German, they don't use this construct. In German, when you're describing something that you're feeling or experiencing, usually you'll use a dative construct to do so. So, mir ist heiß. Mir ist kalt. Mir you'll recognize as me, but in the dative case, in the sense of like the indirect object of a sentence, usually it means to me. Okay, so we're literally saying to me is hot. What does that mean? Well, okay, mir ist heiß is short form for the expression es ist mir heiß. It is hot to me. I'm describing how I'm experiencing the temperature in this room or outside or whatever. Mir ist kalt likewise is short form for es ist mir kalt. It is cold to me. They don't say ich bin with an adjective like that unless you're describing a literal attribute of yourself. Or, occasionally, it can be a euphemism for something. For example, ich bin heiß. Even in English, it's technically a double meaning. I am hot. Hot is used to describe temperatures, yes, but it can also be used to describe a different attribute of somebody, namely their physical attractiveness. If I say something like she is hot, yes, I could literally be talking about temperature. Maybe she's very hot. She has a fever or whatever. But I could mean something very different there. I could be describing her level of physical attractiveness. Oh, in the sense of like, she is hot, ooh la la. I find her physically attractive. If you say ich bin heiß, therefore it sounds almost like you're complimenting yourself, like, oh, I'm so sexy. I mean, I would never say that, but it sounds like that's what you're saying. And heiß in German has another connotation to it. There's a similar construct in English. It's used in reference to animals. You can say that the dog is in heat. What do we mean by that? We don't literally mean that the dog is standing like in a ray of sunshine or something. The dog is in heat. What I mean by that is the dog is ready for doggy fun time. The dog is ready for doggy mating, is what we're saying. The dog is sexually aroused. If you say ich bin heiß, it can come across as saying I'm ready to go, in the sense of like, you know. Similarly, I am cold in English is also technically a double meaning, although it would be very rare to use it in the other context. Cold in English, yes, it can refer to temperature, but it can also refer to emotional state. Think about the expression like, she gave me the cold shoulder. What does that mean? I tried to talk to her, but she gave me the cold shoulder. She was very cold in the sense of unfriendly to me. If you describe a person as cold, that's not a super common usage in English, but you could say, he's a very cold person. That means he's not very friendly. Okay, so if you say I am cold in English, it could be interpreted to mean like I am not very friendly, I don't like people. That would not be a common usage in English. But let's look at German. If you say ich bin kalt, there's two interpretations that you could use in German. Number one, literally my body is cold. I could be describing myself as a corpse. It would be like saying that I'm dead because my body is not generating any heat anymore. My body is clay cold, I'm dead. That would be very uncommon in German. Ich bin kalt can also mean cold in the sense of like emotionally cold. Ich bin kalt could come across as saying like I'm not friendly, I don't like people, which is not at all what you intended to say if you're trying to translate from English I am cold. Ich bin kalt is not how you would say that in German. It's mir ist kalt. This applies not just to temperature, but to describing things in general that you're subjectively experiencing. There are some that have no equivalent in German. I am dizzy, for example, in English. In German, if you said ich bin schwindelig, that doesn't mean anything. That's bizarre. That's like saying in English, I am dizziness. I am the concept of dizziness. That means nothing. In German, it would be mir ist schwindelig. And yes, literally you're saying, to me is dizzy. That's not how you would express that in English. But it is how they express it in German. One of my favorites, if you want to say, I am bored in German, it's tempting to say, ich bin langweilig. That is literally, I am, or it seems like it should be literally, I am bored, but what you're actually saying there is, I am boring. That's not at all what you intended to say. Mir ist langweilig is a very different expression. That's how you would say, I am bored. If you say, ich bin langweilig, you're saying that I am boring. So, we can get into trouble in German, and it can lead to some embarrassing moments. I will also add a cautionary note about the word warm, which means warm. Literally, it means warm. I think, and this might be a regional thing, it doesn't seem 100%, but in some parts of Germany at least, warm can be like a code word meaning homosexual. If you say ist warm, you're not saying he's warm in the sense of temperature, you might be saying he's gay, which is maybe not at all what you intended to say. Ich bin warm, similar thing. You might be saying something that you did not intend to say. So yeah, we can get into trouble here in German if we try to literally translate word for word from English, because we end up saying something that we did not intend to say, which can be minorly embarrassing. So it's one of the many adjustments that you need to make when you are learning a second language, is to remember to adjust the wording sometimes. And yeah, it involves some adjustment to the language because they phrase things differently. Sometimes it's a minor adjustment like this, you have to switch to dative case, which doesn't exist in English. Sometimes it's a major adjustment, but it's an important one to make so that we don't say things that we didn't intend to say. So there you go, just a really quick episode today to go over that. That's all for today. We will see you next time on Lernen und Fahren.